Welcome back, Ultima Weapons. It's the Night Sky Prince again. Tetsuya Nomura has promised that Final Fantasy VII Remake would be getting more PR spotlight after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, and that seems to be one promise that Square Enix plans on keeping. Just a few days ago, users noticed that the official Square Enix Twitter account for Final Fantasy VII G-Bike, originally FF7_G-Bike, has changed its Twitter handle to @FF7RCloud. What's interesting to note here is that instead of calling the account FF7, they decided to call it FF7R deliberately, indicating that this is very specifically for the remake. This name change almost directly indicates that Square is prepping social media accounts for the remake. This may mean that they're prepping for a marketing push that we can only imagine will take place after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3. Adding on to this, Square Enix has also updated the bio of this Twitter account with, quote, "This is an official Twitter account for introducing collaboration information of FF7 related work. Inquiries cannot be answered," which is a very fun way of saying, yes, this is for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and no, we can't tell you anything more at this time. I'd like to point out that this also says collaboration information, and considering that they've created an entire Twitter account around collaborations, expect to see Final Fantasy VII pretty much everywhere. This seems to be suggesting that on the same level of Final Fantasy 15, they'll be doing a ton of collaborations for VII Remake. But the fact that they're considering collaborations for the marketing push already suggests that the remake might be a little bit closer than we thought before, which is something that Nomura has implied to us thus far. It was just difficult for us to believe. Though, what strikes me as strange is that they used the Final Fantasy VII G-Bike Twitter. Final Fantasy VII G-Bike was a mobile game released for Japan on iOS and Android that was based on the motorcycle minigame from the original Final Fantasy VII. It was developed by CyberConnect 2 and released in 2014. Just a year later, however, Square Enix would end up shutting the project down due to feeling like they'd be, quote, unable to satisfy players with it. During the development of this project, Square Enix had formed what was, at the time, a very high-quality business relationship with CyberConnect 2, despite the fact that Final Fantasy VII G-Bike ended up having an incredibly short lifespan. This partnership would grow and eventually lead these two companies to joint developing Final Fantasy VII Remake. This partnership, though, would eventually become strained due to what we could call creative differences. Final Fantasy VII Remake director Tetsuya Nomura was said to be annoyed by CyberConnect 2's way of doing things, and having to change things such as trailers to be more in the style of Square Enix. Eventually, this led to Square becoming increasingly more concerned with the project's quality, which we all can imagine this project being anything less than high quality would destroy Square Enix's reputation. To address this directly, Square decided to terminate CyberConnect 2 and move the project into their own hands internally. Currently, the only recent post on the Twitter is a picture of Cloud with Link, Mario, and Kirby, with a giant Lucky 7 in the background, most likely encouraging the release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which of course features Cloud Strife. And who knows, maybe one day Final Fantasy VII Remake will be on Switch, although graphically in a much downgraded form. The cover photo was also changed to the previously released key artwork that was unveiled for Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's interesting that Square would choose to take a Twitter account that is currently inactive and use it to promote Final Fantasy VII Remake and its collaborations, especially recycling a Twitter account for a project with a company that had quite an obvious sour ending. Whether it was intentional or not, it still comes off as a bit salty of them. On the other hand, I can't blame them. Wanting to use an established account with thousands of followers already makes it even more easier for posts to go viral when they do. Aside from that, with Final Fantasy VII G-Bike shut down, it's not like the Twitter was going to be used for too much more anyway. It's also interesting that they decided to change the name to FF7RCloud. But considering that this is the Twitter account used for collaborations, as it says in the bio, this is probably not the main Final Fantasy VII Remake Twitter. With Kingdom Hearts 3 releasing soon, it seems like we might be hearing more about Final Fantasy VII Remake in the not-so-distant future. Square seems to be prepping its social media presence for the game and its collaborations, so it may not be much longer before the news really starts pouring in. So Ultima Weapons, I want to know, what kind of collaborations do you think Square is working on for Final Fantasy VII Remake? Are you guys ready for some more cup noodle? Do you think this means that we're that much closer to the remake's second unveiling? Or do you think we're just as far away from it as we've always been? Subscribe, click the bell icon, and let your voice be heard in the comments below. And if you really love Final Fantasy VII, I mean really love Final Fantasy VII, be sure to head on over to our Facebook group, Ultima, Square Enix plus JRPGs. It's the only place where Aerith lives, and so does Zack, so she's got a lot of explaining to do with why she's been hanging out with Cloud so much. Link in the description below.